It's funny how the biggest moments of your life start with the smallest decisions. A left turn instead of a right, a forgotten key, or a tap on a screen. For Commander Maya Thorne, it started with a traffic jam just 5 hours earlier. She'd been in the Pentagon Situation Room. The air there was always cool, always humming. Her voice was steady, guiding generals through a crisis the public would never hear about. She was a leader, a strategist. Her hands were made for holding the weight of command. But now, those hands were just holding a steering wheel. The suit was gone, replaced by a soft sweater. The credentials were tucked in her purse. She was just Maya now, a daughter, driving to see her father. The only mission was dinner, and maybe a little peace. She'd just merged onto the highway when she saw it, a solid sea of red taillights stretching to the horizon. Her GPS chirped, heavy traffic ahead. Delay 45 minutes. A sigh escaped her lips. Her father would be waiting. He always worried, then the screen flickered. A new route appeared, a thin blue line veering off the main highway, cutting through a patch of green on the map labeled Willow Creek Estates. Save 32 minutes, it promised. 32 minutes. She thought of her father, watching the clock. A simple choice. A mundane tap of the finger. Rerouting, the electronic voice announced. She took the next exit. The highway noise faded, replaced by the quiet hum of her own tires. The world outside changed. The building shifted from commercial to something else. Something quieter. The trees here were perfectly trimmed. The sidewalks were impossibly clean. Every house was a variation of the same theme. Large, imposing, and silent. There were no kids playing in the yards. No neighbors chatting over fences. It was less a neighborhood, and more a collection of fortresses. A subtle tension crept into her shoulders. A feeling she knew all too well. The feeling of being an outsider. The hypervisibility that came with her skin in a place like this. She took a deep breath, dismissing it. Just fatigue, she told herself. Just get through the shortcut. She followed the graceful curve of the road, watching the GPS count down the distance until she'd be back on the main road. Almost there, then, she saw the truck ahead, a landscaper's truck, partially blocking the lane. No problem. She simply slowed her car to a gentle stop and waited. She reached for her coffee, taking a slow sip. It was a simple act of patience, a moment of courtesy, but in Willow Creek, her patience was about to run out. The coffee was warm. The morning was quiet. For a moment, there was just the soft hum of the idling engine and the distant whir of a lawnmower. Maya waited, patient. This was nothing. A minor delay in what should have been a peaceful morning. But peace is a fragile thing. The sound came from behind her. Not a car engine. Something smaller, angrier. A high-pitched electric whine that grew louder, closer. In her rearview mirror, movement. A white golf cart, buzzing up the street like an angry insect. It swerved around the corner with unnecessary speed, tires squealing against pristine asphalt. It didn't stop behind her. It angled itself sideways, blocking any chance of retreat. The magnetic sign on its side read, "Security." The man behind the wheel was large. His uniform stretched tight across his chest. He didn't look like a welcoming committee. His name, she would soon learn, was Bill Daggett. He stepped out of the cart, not with purpose, but with swagger. He didn't approach the landscapers, didn't ask if they needed help. Instead, he planted himself directly in front of her car, hands on his hips, and stared. Through the windshield, right at her. It was a power play, a silent announcement that she was an intruder in his kingdom. Maya kept her hands visible on the wheel. She met his gaze through the reflection of his sunglasses. Her breathing remained steady, her heart rate calm. This was not the most dangerous situation she'd faced today, not even close. But a cold, familiar feeling settled in her stomach. She knew this script, had seen this performance before. After a long, uncomfortable moment, he strode to her window. Not a walk, a march. He didn't knock. He tapped the glass with a heavy Maglite flashlight. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was unnaturally loud in the quiet street. Maya pressed the button. The window slid down smoothly. "Can I help you, officer?" Her voice was even, polite, the voice of a diplomat. He leaned in close. Too close. His breath smelled of stale coffee. "This is a private road," he growled. "You're trespassing." The accusation hung in the air between them. Simple. Absolute. "I'm just following my GPS," Maya explained, her hand still resting openly on the wheel, passing through to the other side. "I'll be gone in 30 seconds. Daggett's eyes scanned the interior of her car. They lingered on her purse, on the file folder on the passenger seat. "GPS doesn't mean nothing here," he snapped. "This is private property. You need a pass." "I understand," Maya said, her tone still diplomatic. "I didn't see any signs. I'll be on my way as soon as the road is clear." She gestured politely toward the landscapers, who had stopped working to watch. "I decide when the road is clear," Daggett said, his voice rising. "License and registration, now!" A cold knot tightened in Maya's stomach. This was escalating. Fast. The manufactured infraction. The immediate demand for papers. She knew this dance. And she knew that with men like this, compliance often only fed their hunger for control. She made a decision. "A calculated risk, sir." Her voice was calm but firmer now, leaving no room for debate. "I am a federal agent. I am on personal time. There is no need for this." The words should have been a key. They should have unlocked a door to a peaceful resolution. But for Bill Daggett, they were a match thrown on gasoline. His face changed. The smug confidence twisted into something uglier. First disbelief, then pure outrage. The authority he believed was absolute had just been challenged, and he was about to challenge back. The change in his face was instant, physical, like watching a mask crack. "Federal agent?" The words came out as a sneer, a laugh without humor. "I'll believe that when I see it. Out of the car! Now!" The command was a bark, a threat. Maya's mind worked faster than her heartbeat, a rapid threat assessment. His posture, the way his hand hovered near his hip, the emotional volatility. This man was a lit fuse. "I'd prefer to stay in the vehicle," she said. Her voice remained level. A calm lake against a gathering storm. It was the wrong thing to say. "The only thing she could say," I said. "Out!" he roared. His open palm slammed against the roof of her car. Bam! The sound exploded in the quiet street. A violent shockwave. In the periphery, she saw the landscapers freeze, watched a curtain twitch in a nearby house. Witnesses. But no one moved to help. Her training took over. The calculus of survival. Refusing a direct order from an armed man, even one with questionable authority, could be the spark that ignited him. But getting out would strip her of any tactical advantage, would make her more vulnerable. A decision, made in a heartbeat. Okay. The single word was a surrender, a strategy. "I'm going to reach for my credentials." In my purse, slowly, she moved her right hand from the wheel. An inch, deliberate, transparent. It was the movement he'd been waiting for. "The excuse, don't you move." The scream was raw, primal. His face turned a blotchy, dangerous red. In one fluid, terrifying motion, his hand went to his hip. The leather holster snapped open. The pistol came up. The world shrank. The perfect lawns, the silent houses, the blue sky, all of it vanished. There was only the dark, perfect circle of the gun barrel, leveled at her through the open window. She could see the lands and grooves inside, smell the sharp scent of gun oil. Time stretched, slowed, hands on the wheel. "Now!" Spittle flew from his lips. His finger was inside the trigger guard, resting on the curve. This was no longer a confrontation. This was a lethal force encounter. Maya's body reacted before her mind. A surge of adrenaline, cold, electric. But her voice, when it came, was not the voice of a victim. It was the voice of a commander. "I am not reaching for a weapon." Each word was ice. "I am reaching for my FBI identification. I don't care. Hands on the goddamn wheel!" The gun didn't waver. His eyes were wild, unpredictable. In that suspended, infinite second, Maya Thorne made her choice. The fear was a live wire in her chest, but she seized it, channeled it. She let the part of her that was the negotiator, the strategist, the commander, rise to the surface. She slowly, deliberately placed both hands back on the wheel. 10 and 2. a posture of surrender that was, in fact, a posture of absolute control. She turned her head, looked directly into Daggett's wild eyes. The fear was gone, replaced by something far more terrifying, an icy, profound calm. Her voice dropped. It was quiet, but it carried like a shockwave in the sudden silence. "You have just made a very serious mistake." The words hung in the air, a statement of fact, a promise, and for the first time, a flicker of doubt entered Bill Daggett's eyes. The gun wavered, just a tremor at first, a slight shake in his wrist. But in that tremor, everything changed. Maya didn't move, didn't blink. Her hands remained at 10 and 2, her breathing steady. She held his gaze, a predator who had suddenly realized it was looking at a more dangerous animal. "Get out," he repeated. But the words were hollow now. The force was gone. A command had become a plea. Maya's voice was flat, absolute, carved from stone. "No." The word landed in the space between them. Simple, devastating. Daggett blinked. "What did you say to me?" "I said no." Her eyes flickered from his panicked face down to the name tag on his chest. Officer Daggett. The use of his name was a weapon, precise, personal. "Look at my front license plate." Confused, disoriented by the shift in power. His eyes darted to the front of her sedan. Not a standard plate, a U.S. government plate. Official, unmistakable. "Now," she continued, her voice a low, controlled blade. "Look at the lower left corner of my windshield, his eyes." Wide now with dawning horror. Scanned the glass. There it was. A Department of Justice parking permit. And beside it, an FBI headquarters access badge. Her photograph. Her name, Maya Thorne. Her title, Commander. The blood drained from his face. A physical transformation. The arrogance. The bluster. Evaporated like mist. The gun, which had felt so powerful moments before, became a dead weight in his hand. His arm trembled violently. He couldn't hold it steady. He fumbled, lowered the weapon. The barrel pointed at the ground. A gesture of surrender. "My credentials are in my purse," Maya stated, her tone never changing. "Still calm. Still cold." "The same credentials I attempted to show you before you pointed a loaded firearm at my head." She let the silence hang. "Let the weight of the law crush him. You have just assaulted a federal officer. You have violated Title 18, Section 111 of the United States Code. The minimum sentence is 10 years. A small, choked sound escaped his throat. "Now," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper that was more threatening than any scream, "you will holster your weapon. You will step back to your vehicle. You will place your hands on the steering wheel, and you will wait. Is that understood?" Bill Daggett was no longer a threat. He was a ghost, a broken man staring into the abyss of his own making. He could only nod. A jerky, pathetic motion. He fumbled the pistol into its holster, stumbled backward. His legs barely supported him as he collapsed into the driver's seat of the golf cart. Defeated, Maya Thorne did not move. She reached for her phone. Not with panic. Not with fear. With the methodical precision of someone who had just contained a threat. The first part of the battle was over. The real war was about to begin. Maya's finger moved, pressing a single button on her phone. Not 911, a speed dial, the line connected. Half a ring. "This is Commander Thorne." Her voice was flat, calm, like reporting the weather. "I need a federal response team. My location. Code 3, civilian armed. Lethal threat neutralized. The address, coordinates, then silence." She hung up and waited. The quiet was heavier than the shouting had been. The only sound now, rough, shaky breathing from the golf cart. Bill Daggett, hands on his wheel, watching his life end. The landscapers, gone. 3 minutes. Then, sirens. Not local police, sharper, federal. A black SUV, then another. Blocking the street. Agents in tactical vests. FBI. Weapons holstered. The threat contained. The lead agent approached. His eyes scanned everything. The trembling man. "The commander." "Perfectly still, ma'am. Are you injured?" "No." Her hands hadn't moved from the wheel. The individual in the cart. Bill Daggett, armed, pointed his weapon at me after identification. A nod. No questions needed. A gesture to the team. The procedure was clean. Mechanical. Sir. Hands visible. The weapon secured. Rights read in a monotone. Daggett led away. No resistance. A hollow man. Maya finally moved. Opened the door. Stepped out. The neighborhood was watching now. Faces in windows. Doors slightly open. The perfect silence. Broken. The agent offered water. She took it. Her hand, steady. The immediate danger, over. The adrenaline faded, leaving cold clarity. This wasn't about one man. It was about the system that armed him, the HOA that empowered him. The neighbors who watched, she stood there, watching the car disappear. The confrontation had taken minutes. The battle was just beginning. The investigation was swift, thorough. Federal investigators descended on Willow Creek like surgeons. Cutting away at the infection, Bill Daggett was charged with assault on a federal officer, deprivation of rights under color of law, and felony menacing. The security license he'd worn like a shield was revoked permanently. The HOA board was sued into oblivion. Their insurance didn't cover systemic discrimination. Their perfect community was now a case study in prejudice. But for Maya, the legal victories felt distant, like someone else's story. Weeks later, she stood at a press conference. Microphones crowded before her, flashes of cameras, but she wasn't there as a victim. She stood as a commander. I survived this encounter because of the badge I carried, she said. Her voice is clear and carrying. Because of the training I received. Because the system eventually worked for me, she paused, letting the words hang in the air. But what about the nurse driving home from a double shift? The college student visiting friends? The teenager walking home from school? What is their protection against a man with a gun? And a bias? The room was silent. The greatest threat to our security isn't the stranger passing through. It's the hatred we empower to patrol our own streets. It's the silent consent of those who look away. She leaned slightly forward, her eyes finding the camera lens. My story had an ending, a resolution. But for every incident that makes a headline, 1,000 more are endured in silence by people who don't have my credentials, who don't have my platform. Another pause, deeper this time. The question is no longer what happened to me. The question is, what happens next? What do we do about the silence? She didn't offer an answer. She simply stepped away from the podium, leaving the question hanging in the air. Some borders are marked with fences and signs. Others are invisible, drawn in the mind, reinforced by fear, and crossed. Every single day, the real perimeter isn't around a neighborhood. It's around our humanity, and it's a line worth defending. If you want to listen to more stories like this, please hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.